Welcome to Midfield SportsCast.
And the 30th episode of the Divided Friendship Podcast. Today, it is me, Maddyx, it is Dawson, and it is Luke.
Yeah.
And we are back for the 30th episode.
30.
And we are here for the second, or heading into the third week of college football. We'll review the second week of college football, preview the third week of college football, give our upset picks of the week, talk about our favorite teams' games from last week and games for next week. For the Michigan fans here, they will talk about the game for next week. Ohio State is on a bye next week, or this week, I mean. So we'll go first. Do you want to review the scores for the picks of the week?
I'll do it. I got it. Wait, actually, should I just get the Michigan thing out the way? I kind of want to get it out.
No, you can't just get it out the way.
Skip that one. Skip that one. We'll do that at the end. Luke and me got that game right. Philly got it wrong. They'll talk about the score and what happened in that game later in this episode. Now, Tennessee, NC State. Philly, you want to do that one?
Sure.
We all three picked Tennessee, but we did not get the score right or anything else right. Billy, go.
Well, starting off for me, I didn't think this one was going to be very close at all. After NC State's first game against Western Carolina, Tennessee ended up winning this 51-10. Oh crap.
Yeah, right, buddy.
What?
Nico Iamaleava.
Iamaleava.
No, it's not.
Iamaleava.
No.
Yep.
What did I say then?
I don't know what you said, but I know it's pronounced Iamaleava.
So you didn't even listen to what I said.
It was
okay. Anyways, that's what I said last week. I corrected it. Thank you very much. He went 16 for 23, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Dylan Sampson, 20 carries, 132 yards for 2 touchdowns. Leading receiver, Squirrel White, 2 for 67. It's about how it went for Tennessee. Grayson McCall on the other side for NC State, 15 for 22, 104 yards, 1 interception. Hollywood Smothers, their running back, 6 for 25, no tutties. Kevin Concepcion, their leading receiver, 5 catches, 53 yards. This game, it was never really close. It was 20-3 at halftime. Yeah, Tennessee's been looking very solid to open this season. I know their first opponent wasn't a very good team. I'm not sure who it was, but I know it was a FCS school. And a ranked NC State team that they absolutely destroyed. So I was very impressed with this win, and I think that they could kind of be a sleeper team this year.
All right. I'm going to go with the Colorado-Nebraska game. We all three picked Nebraska to win, and we all three got it right. Final score of this was Nebraska 28, Colorado 10. Really, 10. The story of this game was Colorado's O-line being bad once again. Their transfer portal offensive line rebuild has not worked out for them as they start the year 1-1 with a loss to Nebraska. Shedeur Sanders threw for 244 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Dallin Hayden, the leading rusher, with only 32 yards. Dylan Raiola did what he needed to do, 23 for 30 for 185 yards and touchdown. Dowdell, 17 carries, 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. Travis Hunter had 10 catches for 110 yards, so not really on Travis Hunter for this one, but Shedeur Sanders had that one pick six he threw straight to the defense. Very bad throw.
Bad timing.
The offensive line played very bad, gave up way too much pressure, just didn't give them time. Just the same thing we saw last year for Colorado, happened this year in this game. And the second half, Nebraska didn't score at all. Colorado scored 10, but it really didn't matter. They scored points too late for it to matter and didn't score enough. So that's that game. We all three got it right. Didn't get the score prediction right. But, yeah, Luke, the next game on the list is Arkansas, Oklahoma State. But you can do Iowa or Iowa State, whatever.
I
I'm going to talk about Arkansas and Oklahoma State. So this game went into overtime. This was a 39-31 final. Ollie Gordon had the game-winning touchdown. 2 missed field goals in overtime. This was a good game. Arkansas was putting up a fight with the Cowboys. But at one point, Arkansas went up 21-7. Oklahoma State fought their way back into the game, played some good defense, and took the game into overtime. And they would get some key stops and pick up a win. 39-31 final in double overtime. Whoever's next.
Philly, you want to do Iowa State?
Yeah. All right. Iowa State, the battle for the Cyclones came out on top in this one by a score of 20-19 on a walk-off field goal from the Cyclones. I mean, it's what we expected it to be. It was a pretty defensive game. Not really much passing from Iowa's offense, which I thought it was going to be a little improved after what we saw in week 1, but Cade McNamara just took a huge step back. 13 for 29, 99 yards, 2 interceptions. However, the running back, Caleb Johnson, had a very good game. 25 for 187 and 2 touchdowns. On the flip side, for the Cyclones, Rocco Becht, 23 for 35, 272 yards, 2 touchdowns to 1 interception. Leading back, Abu Sama III, 17 carries for 58 yards. And the leading receiver, Jalen Noel, 5 receptions for 133 yards and a touchdown. He had a 75-yard catch as well. So, I mean, I wasn't really expecting it to end in a 54-yard walk-off field goal fashion, but it's a pretty exciting way for a somewhat boring game to end, and Iowa State wins in this early season rivalry game.
All right. So this week's upset picks of the week, or last week's, I picked Appalachian State. Definitely did not get that right. I tried to pick a different type of pick, and some of these upset picks of the week go a little crazy, and I got that a lot wrong. Luke picked Tulane. He did not get that one right. Philly picked Arkansas and almost got
Shoulda.
that. So after the tallies of this week, Philly got 2 out of 5, so we got +2. Luke got 4 out of 5, +4. I got 4 out of 5, +4. So after this week, after that week, and first is me with 7, Maddyx. Second is Philly with 6, and tied with second as well as Luke with 6. So close race as of right now, and it will probably be a close race until the end of the season. Nobody has gotten anything points-wise besides getting the game right. So now we will move on to the picks of this week, as Philly has the list of games and will tell us what the first game is. Do you have them ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's game 1?
All right, let's go. All right, this will be game 1. Number 9, Oregon, traveling to Corvallis to take on one of the 2 teams left inside of the Pac-12, the Oregon State Beavers. This will be a 3:30 kickoff time and the Civil War between the Ducks and the Beavers. Luke, you are going to be our first prediction maker.
Hit the mic, dude.
He just pointed at it if you're paying attention.
Hit the mic.
He just pointed at it.
Well, before I make my prediction, I just want to say this. This came out earlier today. There will be 4 new teams added to the pack. 6 now. Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State. Who's the last one?
You should know your stuff before you say it.
Let me figure it out.
State.
Who?
Colorado State.
Maybe. Let me
Colorado
check.
State, Boise State, Fresno State,
San Diego State.
and San Diego State.
Yeah, okay.
2026.
Yeah. So all those teams are joining the Pac-12 in 2026. But Anyways, back to the actual part, my predictions. Oregon hasn't looked as sharp as we were expecting. Started off, I believe, as like a top 5 team. Now they're number 9. Boise State kept it close with them, and out of all teams, not Boise State. Boise State, yeah, they're a pretty good Group of 5 team, probably one of the best Group of 5, if not the best. I can understand that, but the Idaho Vandals, I already talked about this a lot, so I'm not going to go too into depth, but it was 24-14. Oregon should have won that game by 93, but they didn't. But even if I'm gonna take Oregon, now I think they're gonna start to find their footing here. I think this is where they're gonna start to play how they should be playing. I'm gonna take the Ducks 37-20.
All right. For this game, I also think Oregon is going to win. I think Oregon State will probably keep it close through 3 quarters, maybe a little bit through the 4th, but I think Oregon State's going to be able to pull away and escape in this rivalry game. I'm going to say Oregon wins this one by a score of 34-20.
All right. So, for me, I'm going to also go with Oregon. I think they will have their most complete game of the season to this point, and I think they win 31-10 as we move on to game number 2. Billy?
All right. Second game we have is going to be where College Game Day is headed. We will have number 16 LSU taking on South Carolina. This one is at South Carolina, and it is a 12 p.m. tea time.
LSU lost to USC in the opener, but would end up beating Nicole's, which is an FCS school, 44-21. So bounce back. Now they play South Carolina, pretty good SEC opponent. So far, they beat Old Dominion 23-19 and Kentucky 31-6. However, I am going to take LSU for the win. I think it's going to be close. I'm going to say LSU 28-21.
All right. I will also be taking LSU in this game as I know South Carolina just picked Kentucky to pieces last game, but I'm going to take the Tigers and head coach Brian Kelly to go to the Gamecocks and take this one pretty handedly. I'm going to say LSU wins this one 30-13.
Okay. I think LSU will have a great game in this one. I think South Carolina played a very inconsistent Kentucky team historically. Like under Mark Stoops, they'll have great stretches and then they have terrible ones. So I think they're inconsistent. I don't think South Carolina is anything special for beating them by that much. I'm going to go LSU 42-27. So now on to
Game 3.
game number 3, Philly. What you got?
Okay. This will be our last game between two opponents, one ranked, one unranked, but it will be headed to Madison, Wisconsin, where the number 4 Alabama Crimson Tide will take on the Wisconsin Badgers. Both teams undefeated. This will be a 12 p.m. kickoff on Fox. Luke.
Pick it up,
I
bro.
thought you had it in your hands. I swear I saw it in your hands. Alabama last week got off to a little bit of a rough start against USF, and that continued all the way up until the 4th quarter, until they randomly just started scoring a whole bunch. This one's going to be in Camp Randall. So I'm going to take an overtime pick here. I'm going to say in one overtime, Alabama gets it done 32-19 or 29.
What?
32-29.
Okay. I think it's kind of hard to pick against Alabama here just because Wisconsin kind of struggled with Western Michigan, I believe it was, to open up their season. I'm not quite sure who they played last week, but the Crimson Tide under head coach Kalen DeBoer have looked very solid overall through their 2 games to kick off the season. It'll be Kalen DeBoer's first true road test, so we'll see how that goes for him. But I do think that Alabama will win this one by a pretty good bit. I'm going to take the Crimson Tide to win this one 35-17.
Last week, Wisconsin played South Dakota and won 27-13. So back-to-back underperformances by Wisconsin. If they had performed like they were supposed to in these last 2 games, I would probably take the upset pick and try to get some extra points. But looking at that, I don't have any real hope in Wisconsin. And I don't think Tyler Van Dyke is built for the moment. Bama wins it 45-17, a blowout. I think the fans will be home by the third quarter. Game 4, Philly. What we got?
All right. This one will take us into Missouri, where we will have the number 24 ranked Boston College Eagles taking on the number 6 ranked Missouri Tigers. 12:45 start time on SEC Network. 6.
All right, well, I'm not going to yap like I have been recently. This isn't a Boston College this is the Boston College team that beat Florida State, but Florida State is not good. So, I mean, it does mean something, but freaking heck it. I'm going to take Missouri to get the win here. I'm going to say 31-0.
Shoot.
They haven't given up points yet this season. He thinks the streak continues. Philly?
Well, I do think Missouri will win this one. I don't think Boston College really should be ranked. They beat a Florida State team that clearly is not very good. I don't think that they will hold them scoreless, though, but I will take the Missouri Tigers by a score of 38-9.
Missouri, one of a couple teams this year to not give up a single point. They're right now a top 5 defense in the country. I'm going to take Missouri here 24-16. I think they will give up points in this game. Boston College will find a way to score, settle for a bunch of field goals, but also score a touchdown. Now on to game number 5, as all of us so far have picked the exact same winner of all of these games. On to game 5.
All right, well, this is what I do believe is the game of the week. And weird enough, this technically is not a conference game, as it was scheduled before Arizona moved into the Big 12. But we will have number 20, Arizona, set to take on number 14 at Kansas State. And this will be at 8 p.m. kickoff time. This game is actually tomorrow on Friday. And yeah, it'll be on Fox.
All right, Kansas State. Let's see. Got a solid statement win over the Tulane Green Wave, who've been a really good Group of 5 team in the past couple of years. Tomorrow they play a Arizona team who underperformed against Northern Arizona, only won 22-10. All that being said, I'm going to take Arizona for the upset pick here. I'm going to take Arizona by a final score of 35-27.
All right, well, I think if Arizona wants to win this one, they're going to have to score a lot of points because their defense has not looked particularly good this season. Kansas State, like Luke said, coming off of that win against Tulane, which for a second I didn't think they were going to win until They got that scoop and score off the strip sack of Darian Mensah. But with that being said, I'm going to take the Arizona Wildcats to win this one, and I'm going to say Arizona wins 45-41.
What a game. I actually looked at this game last year. Like I knew that these two teams are like some of those teams that are fighting for the spots in the playoffs. The 12-team playoff is 4 teams like Arizona, Kansas State, Penn State, teams that are maybe not the best teams in the country, but get a shot at the playoffs. So I think Kansas State is going to win this one. I think Avery Johnson will lead them to a win. I'll go Kansas State 37-27. Actually, I'm changing it. 37-33. And Philly, I did not write down what you picked.
45-41. Arizona.
45-41. Okay. All right. That was the only game we picked differently. We all picked Oregon, all picked LSU, all picked Bama, all picked Missouri. And then you two picked Arizona, and I picked Kansas State. So that will be an interesting thing to see of like the points and how it shakes out. Now upset picks of the week. I definitely do not have mine. Are you ready for yours, Luke?
Mhm.
All right, upset pick of the week.
Oh gosh, there it is. Okay, I thought I lost it for a second. All right, so technically this would be an upset. UCF is favored by 1 against TCU, and I'm gonna take TCU. Both teams are 2-0. UCF beat UNH, whatever the heck that is,
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, 57-3, and beat Sam Houston State 45-14. So nothing really proved there. Same thing said for TCU. 34-27 got the win over Stanford, and then got the win over Long Island 45-0. So I am going to take TCU. I think they have the better team over UCF, and they are at home, so I think that's going to help them a little bit. It is sold out. It is a night game. That will be a tough environment for the Knights to go into. TCU, my upset pick.
I got mine ready. All right. I'm going to go with Arkansas State here. I'm kidding. I'm going with UNLV.
Ooh,
I got UNLV upsetting Kansas at Kansas. They are currently a 9-point underdog. Kansas had a very disappointing week last week, losing to Illinois 23-17. One of my favorite quarterbacks, like besides an Ohio State player, just like I like Jalen Daniels, how he plays, but he has not played how he played last year. This year has 3 touchdowns and 4 interceptions so far this year. 27 for 47 for only 289 yards. Just not the start you want to see. They're Kansas 73.6% chance to win according to ESPN, but I think they get upset by UNLV and Matthew Sluka, who's been slinging the rock this year. 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. Yeah, UNLV, Philly.
all right. Well, that was going to be my upset pick of the week, but
Sorry.
it's okay. I've also had I had 3 that I was narrowing it down to. So, one, this is not my official upset pick of the week, but this is upset watch. Technically, yes. Technically, Florida State is still favored against a 2-0 Memphis team that I think has a pretty good chance to potentially make it into the college football playoffs. But I'm just warning you guys, that might be an upset. This is my upset pick of the week. I'm going to take Washington State to defeat Washington in the Apple Cup. Washington is 4.5-point favorites here in this one. It will be in Husky Stadium. I think a Pac-2 team will get their revenge on a departing Pac-12 team. And John Mateer, Washington State's quarterback, he's thrown for 460 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a pick on the year. He's played pretty well. Also has some good threats in through the air. He is also the team's leading rusher. So I think that Washington State has a chance to beat a pretty sloppy Washington team in this one.
I got one that I overlooked, or I didn't scroll down very far to find even OV, but Purdue at home against Notre Dame. The spoiler makers play Notre Dame at 3:30. They're 9.5-point underdogs. You know how Purdue is when they play a ranked team. And Hudson Card has played very good this year.
They basically turn into a ranked team when they play a ranked
I
team.
mean, they've only played one game. Had a bye week last week,
points.
giving up no points. I think they could probably do it. Riley Leonard's been meh. So let's see. It's not an upset pick of the week, but that's one to look out for. As well as now we will move on to talking about our team's game from last week and then what we play next week. I'll start because my team doesn't play anybody next week. So Ohio State played what? Am I tripping? What are you looking at me for? What? Did I forget something? Bro, what? What, dude? Okay. Ohio State played Western Michigan last week. Dude, Western Michigan last week, and they won 56-0. I'm just gonna be honest, it was the most complete Ohio State game I've watched in the last at least 5 years. I mean, they haven't beat a team or given up shutout. They haven't shut out a team since Cincinnati in 2019, which was a long time ago. It was just a complete dominant game. You could see in this game Henderson and Judkins how they can work together to absolutely destroy teams. The offensive line worked as a unit. Judkins 9 carries, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. Henderson 10 for 66 and 2 touchdowns. And Judkins had an 80-yard touchdown called back for holding. So I mean, just 4 touchdowns between the two of them. Jeremiah Smith put on a show again. Had a leading receiver, 5 catches, 119 yards, and a touchdown. Will Howard did exactly what he needed to do, 18 for 26, 292 yards, and a touchdown. We shut down their run game. Ohio State shut down the run game. Wolf couldn't throw the ball, 8 for 15 for 71 yards. I mean, just very good for Ohio State here. Got Egbuka rolling, 5 catches, 98 yards. On the defensive side of things, they had 5 total sacks. Just really good all around. Got all the backups really in the game. Played 4 quarterbacks. No, 5. We had one of our walk-on quarterbacks play a couple running back reps. Why? I don't know, but he did. All quarterbacks played except for Aaron Noland. So very weird. But Julian Sand threw a touchdown. Devin Brown played a little bit, but yeah, I'm starting to ramble now. But Ohio State 56-0. I didn't really expect that. Western Michigan team wasn't bad. I mean, they hung with Wisconsin. That's why I have no hope for them to beat Bama. But yeah, on to you guys.
Where do we even start here?
I'm sorry.
We lost. The score was 31-12.
Talk, fellas.
I don't even know what we're supposed to say here. The best player on our team might just be our kicker.
All right, since he's just saying some bull crap, I'll take over. We lost 31-12. We didn't even score the touchdown until under 2 minutes to play. I was in the shower at the time they scored because I was fed up and I couldn't watch anymore. But Quinn Ewers put on a masterclass, to say the least. I'm not really sure why our defensive coordinator kept leaving all of our corners on islands against probably what's one of the better receiver rooms in all of college football, which if we were to do that against Ohio State's receiver room, we would be in trouble. So, there's that. They They threw the ball whenever they wanted. They ran the ball whenever they wanted. I will say, though, Steve Sarkisian had a very good, scheme of how he wanted to do things. Whenever Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham were in the game, he'd attack the outsides. He'd run outside zones. He'd run away from the D tackles. The second that they would be tired and have to come out of the game for whatever reason, right down the middle. And that really worked. He obviously had a good game plan coming into the game. Quinn Ewers, a veteran quarterback, was able to execute it. Another thing I learned about Texas, their running back room is very deep. Even with the loss of C.J. Baxter, Jaden Blue's still a good back. It seems like they've had depth at the running back position probably for the past 4 years, 4 seasons. Defense for them was I'm not sure if it was good or if the offense was just that bad. It was probably a mixture of both. I'm sure Texas has a good defense, but everybody knew going into that game, Michigan's offense wasn't great, and we showed that. Donovan Edwards had 8 carries for 41 yards. He led the team in carries. People can say he should have got more. Oh, why wasn't he on the field as much? I mean, you can't run the ball whenever you're down 2 touchdowns. That's just not how you're going to come back into a game. You got to be able to throw the ball. And Michigan was just not able to do that. They got down too early and kind of messed up their identity. Normally just a ground and pound team, so whenever you go down early like that and have to start throwing the ball and you get into obvious passing situations, it's kind of hard to run the ball down people's throats. Another thing, the offensive line really did not look as good as they have the past couple years, which, I mean, I'd expect it because we lost every offensive line starter. So trying to mesh a whole new group of linemen together in a game as big as that, whereas Michigan the past couple seasons hasn't played a game as big as that until like week 8 or week 9. So compared to having 8 or 9 weeks to gel with one another, you have one. And I mean, it just showed the kind of inexperience there and inexperience everywhere on offense. Defensively, I think they didn't really do great, but I think they were also put in bad situations. Again, the offense not being able to do anything, short drives for them would put the defense back on the field really fast, and it's just hard to keep your composure whenever that's happening. It's hard to stay or keep your energy. You just kind of get drained throughout that. Texas would have a couple long drives. Michigan would go on 3 and out, maybe 1 first down and get off the field. So not something that you can do and expect to win a game, and definitely not something you can expect to win a game doing against a top 3 team in the country like Texas.
Let's move on. Good thing we scheduled a not so great team this week. We play the Arkansas State Red Wolves. Arkansas State beat Central Arkansas 34-31 and beat Tulsa 28-24. We already know what Michigan's done.
We didn't even talk about Northern Illinois beating Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah, we didn't.
No, we didn't, because you rushed it. I mean, I need to say something about that, because we can't just skip over that. That was one of the biggest upsets of all time. NIU knocking off Notre Dame, which I will probably talk about in my Group of 5 episode. If it comes out this week, we will see. And yeah, I'm a little too active on the homework sticks right now. I'm trying to manage, but yeah, 16-14, I'm pretty sure was the score. Obviously a big shocker. Notre Dame is now added to Northern Illinois' Boneyard, which I think is a pretty cool tradition.
All right, well,
now helping out Notre Dame.
That's also cool.
Before I get into the Michigan stuff, he has his Group of 5 podcast thingy. In case you haven't seen already, I will now have my own podcast. It'll be NFL recap. It'll be all news about the NFL because I know a lot of this is college football. So if you're wanting to hear us, but you don't want to hear college football, I'm here at NFL Recap. At first, I thought it would be 5 to 10 minutes, but after doing a little test run, I guess you could say, over it, it'll probably be from about 15 to 20. So not as long as these podcasts, but still decently long. It'll just cover all news and games that happened in the previous week of the NFL. I won't preview unless there's like a really big game. Like I'm not gonna preview all the games, so I'll just preview a select few, just like I would do on here. And yeah, more info is on the Instagram. Back to Michigan. I do think this should be a pretty easy win, a bounce back win, and a game to kind of get yourself back in the rhythm, because we play USC next week. After we play Arkansas State next week, we will play USC. So this is kind of a game where you really gotta find your footing after getting beat, like how we got beat. Find your footing, prepare for USC. Don't look over it, because this is a USC team that is very good without Caleb Williams still. Yeah, I do think that we'll be able to pick up this win pretty easily. I'm gonna say Michigan by a final score of 42-10. That's all I got.
I don't know how our offense is going to score 42, but I'm going to pick Michigan to win this one as well. I'm going to say we win probably 30-3. No, I'm going to say 30-6. Obviously need to improve on some stuff, and this is a perfect game to do so. Maybe try and stay away from putting our corners on islands every time we send them out on the field, and we'll see what Wink Martindale does. Obviously, I trust him. He's a proven defensive coordinator, kind of the one who started the tree of defensive coordinators that Michigan has had over the recent years. That'll be all for episode 30 of the Divided Friendship Podcast. We thank you guys for listening, and we will see you on the next one.